Psychologist Jordan Peterson could lose license if he refuses social media re-education. Now, can you tell me at any point, what regime, what ideology, what institution, let's just name any time in history where anyone that tries to force you to go through re-education have been the good guys? When? Name one. Name a single fucking time. Controversial Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson has launched a legal challenge against the College of Psychologists of Ontario after he said the governing body threatened to pull his practicing licence if he doesn't complete social media re-education for comments he made on Twitter and the Joe Rogan podcast. Peterson, 60, filed an application for judicial review with the Ontario Divisional Court, the Toronto Sun reported Wednesday, as the clinical psychologist has said he will refuse to comply with the regulatory body's demands. Good. Tell him to fuck off. The CPO, which oversees practicing psychologists in Ontario in order to protect patients from professional misconduct, ordered Peterson to complete a mandatory specified continuing education or remedial program to review, reflect on, and ameliorate his professionalism in public statements. In other words, you're saying things that we don't like, so now we're going to try and take your job away. Now, see when you have such an overwhelming amount of industries saying you must think a certain way politically or you cannot have a fucking job. This is basically think the way the state wants you to think or starve. That's what this is becoming. That's what this is becoming. This is coercion on a massive international scale because loads and loads of countries are doing it. Think the way we want you to think or starve and live in the street. Now, again, if this is the other way around, we know that the leftists would be making the exact same arguments that we're making. However, one thing that we know, we've arrived at the point where the leftists are fully 100% aware that they're hypocritical. They don't care. They don't care at this point. They know that everyone knows. They'll still try and hide it, but they know that everyone knows and they don't care. They don't care. That's why it's like, oh, look, but you're telling us to do this. Well, you guys do this. Like, leftists will look at you and laugh. They know. They're fully aware. It doesn't matter how much you point it out. They know. They just don't fucking care. According to a lengthy list of requirements from the college that Peterson shared on Twitter, he must meet with a psychologist for coaching classes on how to think correctly, which he must pay for, of course, because the state very often makes you pay for your own enslavement, until a final report is issued by the coach that shows that their concerns have been properly ameliorated. Yes, the subject has been thoroughly re-educated after being sent to room 101. He loved Big Brother. The CPO reached its decision on November 22nd following an investigation. I imagine that was a very short investigation because the decision was decided. The decision was decided before the investigation even started. I'm not complying. Good. I'm not submitting to re-education. I'm not admitting that my viewpoints, many of which have, by the way, been entirely justified by the facts that have emerged since the complaints were levied, were either wrong or unprofessional, he wrote in the National Post Wednesday evening. I'm going to say what I have to say and let the chips fall where they will. I have done nothing to compromise those in my care. Quite the contrary. I have served all my clients and the millions of people I am communicating with to the best of my ability and in good faith, and that's that. Yeah. Yep. Like, this is the thing, right? If you're worried about a psychologist, like, if I was going to get a psychologist, do you know what I would do? And this is the thing that everybody should do. I would find them on social media. And I would see the type of things they post. I would see the type of things they post and the way they act. For example, if I got I wouldn't go to a leftist psychologist. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I would go and see how they act. And I would say, right, because the point as a psychologist is you're supposed to vibe with the person. You're supposed to be able to talk to them. Right. And you don't want to go and talk to someone looking for help who hates you. Right. They're not going to help you. They'll take your fucking money happily, but they're not going to fucking help you. Right? So, loads of people, if they wanted to get Dr. Jordan Peterson to take them on as a patient, they can see how he acts, and I'm pretty sure a few people are aware of who he is and the things that he thinks. So, if you don't like that, then you can just not have him as your psychiatrist. You could, yeah. That's something that, did you know that that's something people could do? Just, oh, is that the way he thinks? Is that the way he acts? I don't want him as my psychiatrist then. But instead, what these people have opted to do is basically take his license away and go, now no one can have him as their psychiatrist. Because that is the way that leftists work. It's not just enough for them to not take part in the thing and let other people enjoy it. They go, no, the whole thing has to be taken away because they think the entire world revolves around them because they've been spoiled their entire life. If it becomes necessary for him to attend the classes, he pledged to make all of the details of what they're teaching public, which is, yep, good. In June, Twitter suspended Peterson for a post about transgender actor Elliot Page that broke the platform rules against hateful conduct. Remember when pride was a sin and Ellen Page just had her breast removed by a criminal physician, Peterson tweeted. Twitter's new CEO, Elon Musk, reinstated Peterson's account in November after Musk took over the company. A month earlier, Peterson announced he would be stepping away from social media after he caught heat for retweeting a New York Post article about plus-size Sports Illustrated model Yummy Nu, calling her not beautiful, adding that no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that. And She was a fat fuck, though. In January, the former University of Toronto researcher claimed on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast that being transgender is a result of a social contagion and similar to satanic ritual abuse, and suggested that acceptance of the trans community is a sign that civilization's collapsing. Well, look at the fall of Rome, right? No, I'm just saying one of the things, right? One thing that I just genuine question. I'm not making a statement here, just something I want to figure out, right? The rate of homosexuality in trans people. For trans people, it was like less than 1%. Less than 1%. For gay people, it varies on the country, but I think it's anything between 3 to 10% depending on the country. 3 to 10% depending on the country. And that was the case for a very, very, very long time. And I was told that this was genetic. You were either born gay or you were born trans. Nothing anybody could do about it. Just that was it. You had the little thing in your brain. You like penis tough shit. You know, God's funny like that sometimes. Like that was just it. That was the way I was believed. That was just genetics. It was genetics. Now when they're doing surveys at universities, you're getting trans rates as high as 5% and homosexuality rates as high as 25%. Right. So either genetics dramatically fucking changed in the last 10, 15 years. And as far as I was aware, it takes millions. It takes millions for genetics to change. So either there's been a massive genetic shift in the last 10 or 15 years, or a lot of people are fucking lying, or it's not genetic. It is a choice. Now, I'm not saying this to be, be gay, be trans, do whatever the fuck you want, just stay away from my kids, right? But do all that if you want, right? I'm asking a genuine question. Has genetics changed, or is it a choice? Or is everybody just lying because non-binary NB fucking weird shit is just what's the trend right now? And people are altering their identity and sexuality to fit in. Genuine question. That's just something that I genuinely want to know. Right? I just find it strange. In response, critics again denounced Spotify's Rogan podcast for having peddled harmful anti-trans rhetoric. The CPO cited the January 25th podcast appearance in its notice to Peterson. Peterson also claimed in the National Post that he was targeted for supporting Canadian opposition leader Pierre Fifi, fucking French boy, who cares, criticisms of the COVID-19 lockdowns, criticising Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a brave thing to do nowadays, and his Chief of Staff Gerald Butts, hate that guy, criticising an Ottawa Council member and making fun of New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. All of these are a list of absolutely based and wonderful things. Every single accusation is not only independent of my clinical practice, but explicitly political. And not only that, undirectionally explicitly political. Peterson, a free speech advocate, wrote, "Every single thing I've been sentenced to correction for saying is insufficiently leftist politically. I'm simply too classically liberal, or even more unforgivably conservative." And yeah, that's why. They want to basically, we've known for the longest time, conservatism, right wing, all that stuff, the left want to criminalise it. They want to criminalise it. Basically, they've realised that they're not actually able to defeat the other side in argument, so instead they just want to make the other side illegal. They just want to ban it. They just want to get rid of it. Because, It's easy to win a boxing match if you're able to kill your opponent before he can even get into the ring, you know? Just that, what was that fucking Nancy fucking shit where the guy, the figure skater where they hired someone to pan her ankles in with an iron bar before she gets into the fucking ring, gets into the skating rink, where she's sitting going, why, and all that shit. That was actually a big deal. I might do a video on that, actually. But yeah, that type of shit. They just want to make being right-wing illegal. It's not rocket science, guys. They're just evil and they just want to diddle kids. In May 2022, Peterson blasted Trudeau on Twitter for his travel ban. I'm at my daughter's wedding in California. I will never forget Justin Trudeau that my father is not here because of your utterly unconscionable, inconstitutional and vindictive travel ban, he said at the time. The Wall Street Journal editorial board defended Peterson for speaking his mind in an opinion piece published Wednesday evening. Professional bodies are supposed to ensure that practitioners are competent, not enforce political orthodoxies or act as language police outside the office, the board wrote in a scathing column. Peterson, who boasts over 15 million followers across his social media platforms, told the Toronto Sun that he never had any complaints levied against him until he drew international attention in 2016. He said he's since had to hire lawyers to handle the college's complaints. I practiced for 20 years without being investigated. This only started when I became a prominent public figure, Peterson said in a phone interview with the news outlet Wednesday morning. He suspended his... Sorry, it's winter, still get a bit of a cough. He's suspended his private clinical practice since 2017 when he said his notoriety made it ethically impossible to continue. People would target his clinic, you know they would. Peterson penned a letter to Trudeau, which he published in the National Post, demanding he look into the government's regulatory bodies. I'm not suggesting or even presuming that you or any of these people associated with you had anything directly to do with this, he wrote. However, the fact that it is happening and that physicians and lawyers have become as terrified as psychologists now are of their own regulatory bodies is something that has definitely happened on your watch as a consequence of your own conduct and the increasingly compulsion-based and ideologically pure policies you have promoted and legislated. Now, basically, all Jordan Peterson done was say some standard conservative opinions. Ask like 90% of conservatives, they'll share the same opinions. Right, or even classical liberals, they'll all share the same opinions. What this says is that, oh, you said these statements publicly, you had discussions about these things, you've made it publicly known that you hold these opinions, we are now going to investigate you and possibly take your license away. So, what message, and there's lots of industries that do that, what that says is entire industries are sending the message, if you are a classic liberal, a conservative, or even vaguely right-wing, you're not allowed to work in this industry. You are not allowed to have these opinions. And you're not allowed to work in this industry at all. So, conservative psychiatrists or psychologists, they just won't be a thing. They won't exist. Or if they do, it'll be because they kept their mouth shut and kept quiet about it. Right. Same in big tech. You even had someone that get fired from LRG Games like just the other day, not because of things they said or things they posted, it was because they followed libs of TikTok and Ian Miles Chong on Twitter, because they followed those two people. That person got fired from a company that they worked in for years, and that was LRG Games or LFG Games, something like that. But yeah, it's getting to the point where if you're right-wing, you're not allowed a job. Want a job? Want to be able to feed your family? Want to be able to have a roof over your head? You better have the right opinions.